Well, studio, we're pleased to welcome now Rob Roberson, Mississippi House of Representatives, District 43. That includes Oktibbeha and Winston counties. Serves as the chair of the House Education Committee. Representative Roberson, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning.
Man, oh man, we are a few months removed from the 2024 legislative session, the protracted version, given that it was the first one of the term. You guys were busy. I mean, you took up a lot of stuff and seemed to be moving about rather feverishly. Anytime I was down in the Capitol, it was quite the active session. But something that's going on now in the summer, which is typical for the legislature between sessions, is to meet and address some of the pressing issues the state is dealing with. One of those is mental health. And there's been a lot of talk about that, how to address this problem in our state. But you're going to be co-chairing a task force meeting here pretty soon. Tell us about that.
We actually had our first meeting, and we were basically putting together a group of people to have a discussion about some of the solutions. The reality is that everybody's got their own idea about what direction we need to go in and things like that. But the reality that we face is we really have a desert for getting these kids help that we need to be getting them, and so it's just a process, and we're trying to get that now. Actually, Senator David Parker and I are chairing that together, and bringing people in, asking them questions, trying to figure out what the best route to go is.
Does anything kind of percolate up to the top at this point that is something that the legislature could take action on, or do you feel like you really need to hear some testimony from some subject matter experts?
I really think we need to hear a lot more information. Politicians always can give lip service to these things, and I really don't want to be in a situation where we're not actually fixing some of the problems. I don't know whether it was COVID or whether it was the nature of where we are in this day and age. But nothing's worse than getting a phone call from a parent that's had a child that's gone through some kind of issue. And I know, speaking from a personal standpoint, I've had a very hard time at times getting help for this child. We already have schools set up in all of our counties. There should be a better mechanism to get these parents help and get this child the need and in the process to get them help a lot faster.
I see. So does it appear that there is just an overall shortage of resources, professionals that could help children in these situations in our state?
I think there's a shortage of professionals, but I also think there is a shortage of information, even where to go and get the help. You've got some issues where there is a money issue or an insurance issue where the child doesn't have insurance to go get help. There's no coverage in that area. But even if money is not an issue whatsoever, there are still spots. It's just almost impossible to find the help needed. I think in the future we're going to continue moving forward in a place where we can get services closer to these parents faster, and a little bit more. I think one idea that was brought up is having a single source spot where you can go to and see all of the things that are out there that are available. It's just going to take some time to put that together. And from my standpoint, making sure that I understand all the needs that we need to do.
Sure. Well, it's a complicated matter, and it's a highly personal matter, as you just alluded to, with receiving calls from constituents when they have troubled children, and of course we want to help. I think the question is that you guys got to search for, and you know this, you don't need me telling you this, is what can the government do what's the role for the government in this particular case? Certainly at a minimum, perhaps being a facilitator of the information sounds to me like that's a first step. People don't know where to go, and I can see that. I mean, if I were encountered with that situation, I don't know where to go either. And I think by default, you call your state rep, your state senator, and say, hey, what do I do? And I suspect you're not the only one that's receiving these sorts of calls in the legislature.
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to several people that have been through the same scenario. I have 4 children of my own, and none of us are immune to the need for the ability to have help. And sure. I do think that having the ability to facilitate this and having a location for us to be able to reach out and get the help for these kids, it's just very scary. I mean, I didn't know what to say to the parent whenever I was talking to them. There's nothing you can say that'll make them feel better. It's just a matter of trying to find the resources that are available out there to get this child the help they need as quickly as we can. And sometimes there is, there's a time crunch there that you really need to be hitting this fast. This is not something you can wait 48 hours or a week. We need help as soon as possible.
Yeah. Let's pivot a bit. So, again, an active session, and that includes education policy and legislation as well. You championed a bill that revamped the funding formula for public education in K through 12 in Mississippi. Tell us about that.
That was probably the biggest legislation I've ever worked on. It may be the biggest legislation I ever work on. I think the accountability model coming up next year is probably going to be a big deal. I also think that looking into the possibility of consolidating some school districts are probably going to be a big deal. But this one funding formula issue of changing the way we look at how we fund, frankly, I don't know that there is a bigger deal that we can deal with. The way we go about funding, pointing out that the kids are the most important of this element, and making sure that the money is actually getting to the classroom and getting to these kids was probably the nexus or the beginning point for us. And I do realize there were people in the state and around the country that felt like maybe this was not the starting point. It was. There's no doubt in my mind that when we were looking at this, when the speaker and I had a conversation about this, and we brought in the people that we were going to use to spearhead this, the first and foremost thing that we talked about was what are the needs of the kids, and how do we make certain that these children are being taken care of in the best manner that they can be. One of the things that I'm very proud of, and I'd like to see us continue to look at and grow, is making sure that IEPs are being done for children with special needs in our classroom. That was something that was very important to me, and we've put a weighted formula together, and that was one of the key elements of this, was to make certain that our school districts were able to use this money specifically for the IEP and getting the help for these children, whether that be a speech therapy or physical therapy, or whether that be occupational therapy, or whether that be a learning disability. I want to make certain that we're tackling the dyslexia issues that we have out there. Another part of the dynamic for us was making sure that the sparsity, whenever you're talking about Mississippi, you have a huge land mass, and we weighted that side of it to make certain that we were able to get money to make sure these kids were being brought in and had the ability to have school buses sent out to get them. For the first time, we were able to do a English language learning weight to make certain that the children that are coming in that English is not their first language, whether we like it or not. The reality is these kids are here, and we've got to educate them. And if we don't, we're going to have a problem in the future. So the whole purpose of this was to make certain that we were weighting this. We put an additional $250 million into the education system this year. That's the highest amount of money that we've ever put into education. If anybody out there doesn't think that the Republican Party in Mississippi has not put their money where their mouth is, they're not paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it truly was a rather radical shift, honestly, from the old MAEP formula. I would venture to say that not many people under that dome even could recite or explain the MAEP formula. We have something now that is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. It makes a lot of sense to me. We appreciate you, as always, coming on and joining us here, Representative Roberson, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. Good luck with the Mental Health Taskforce meeting. Might need to have a follow-up after that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
That sounds good. Thank you.
You bet. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth